So thank you everybody for joining us today. Today's workshop is on CPT, Curricular Practical Training. For those who have joined us on Tuesday, our general workshop, I welcome you here again to learn a little bit more about the details of CPT. My name is Kathy Chin. I am one of the educational advisors here at the International Student Center at Pasadena City College. I'm joined by my colleague, Ms. Rosa Villegas.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rosa Villegas. I'm one of the educational advisors here in the International Office. We want to thank you for being here and for your interest in learning more about curricular practical training. We know your time is valuable, so welcome and thank you for being here.
We will get started. Feel free to put your questions in the chat or unmute yourself and ask us anytime, and we will stop the presentation and answer your questions. So for today on CPT, we're going to talk about what is CPT, what is the eligibility for CPT, requirements for CPT, how to apply, why we're going to apply for CPT, right? What are the benefits of it? And the processing time for CPT, and we'll share some resources with you all at the end as well. So what is CPT? CPT is short for Curricular Practical Training. CPT must be a part of your curriculum, such as fieldwork or internship directly related to your major or field of study. CPT work is only temporary, right? It's not a permanent thing. You're doing it at each semester, right? You have to get approved each semester, so it's only temporary and needs to be approved each semester as well. CPT, again, must be directly, the job that you're going to acquire must be directly related to your major. And the CPT must be during your study. That means when you're taking classes is when you can do CPT. You cannot do CPT if you have already completed your study. Oh, we jumped too far. Let's go back. There you go. Okay, so CPT, it can be paid or unpaid. It can be part-time or full-time. If it's part-time, that means it's going to be 20 hours or less every week. If it's full-time, 20 hours or more, it's considered full-time. And full-time can only be used during the summer breaks. So if you want to do CPT during fall or spring, you can only do part-time. Now, if you do full-time CPT, as you can see, point number 3, it will have an effect on your OPT if you choose to do OPT at the end of your degree. So it says that 12 months of cumulative full-time CPT will not give you the chance to apply for CPT. So that's very important to remember. So Ms. Rosa will talk about the eligibility.
So now that you know a little bit about CPT, so let's talk about the eligibility. So similar to other types of employment, you must be in valid status, F1 status specifically. You must have been lawfully enrolled on a full-time basis and completed at least one academic year, meaning one fall semester and one spring semester. So for those of you who this is their first semester, unfortunately, you're not eligible yet to apply. You will have to complete another semester and then you can meet with us to discuss applying for CPT. You must be currently enrolling a full course of study or have approval for reduced course load. So if for some reason you're under units and you're not approved, then unfortunately, you're not eligible to apply for CPT, but as long as you enroll full-time, because you're maintaining your status, you are eligible. This may not apply to you because we're at the academic program, but for students in the ESL program, CPT is not available. It has to be in an academic program. And when you do CPT, remember that the job has to be directly related to your study or your major. For example, when we say directly related is if you're in our nursing program and you have to go do clinicals at the hospital, then that means the job that you're doing is related to your major. However, if you're a nursing major and you bring us a job offer letter from a bank that you're going to be a teller, we're going to say, oh, I'm sorry, Kathy, that's not going to work. Go try to find a job at a hospital or something related to your nursing major. So we do look at it carefully because that's one of the government requirements. It also requires students who are interested in applying for CPT that you are enrolled in a class that requires you to do the field work or clinical, or if your major doesn't have any classes that require the clinicals or field work, we are fortunately enough that the college opened what is called internship classes. So your major may be, for example, mathematics. We don't have any classes that require you to do field work, but if you do find a job related to your major in math, then we can recommend to enroll in the internship class so that you're eligible to apply for CPT. Again, like Kathy said, if you have questions, feel free to ask during our presentation so we can address them, or you can wait until the end. But Kathy, do you want to explain what the requirements are?
Yes, so let's talk about the requirements. So OPT authorization, you need that before you begin your working or your employment. So for example, you are a nursing major, your class requires you to have a field work. Then you will register for that class and actually get approval from your advisor, either myself, Rosa, or Michael, before you start working. So this is authorized. CPT is authorized by designated school officials, long for DSO, and one of us, your assigned advisor, is a DSO, and we do have the ability to approve your CPT. So you will come to us first. Now, this CPT, it happens during your study and before you complete your study. So it's very important, right? If you come to us and say, hey, Miss Kathy, Miss Rosa, I want to do CPT. I just finished my degree. We're going to say, you cannot, because you have already finished your degree. And CPT requirement is that you have to do it during your study. So remember that. And the authorization for CPT is for one specific employer. And it's authorized for a specific period of time. So for example, if you're a nursing major, you are working at Huntington Hospital. That Huntington Hospital, the name will appear on your I-20, and the time that you are allowed to work at Huntington Hospital will also show on your I-20, and it will show on page 2 of your I-20. We will have a sample of it, of the I-20 in a little bit. So what are the other requirements? So for volunteering, this is very important to remember. Volunteering means you are giving your time to an organization without asking something back. For example, if you read a children's book at a library, that could be considered as charitable, right? But if you are doing work that can be paid, that is not volunteering, and that's a no-no. So be careful with that. If you're unsure, feel free to ask one of us, and we will help you determine whether it is a real volunteering job or not. And this can be an unpaid internship. Unpaid means you're doing the work, right? Just like normal work that you would get paid for, but you're not going to because it's unpaid. You're doing the job, you're doing the work, you're gaining the experience, but you're not getting paid. Can you have multiple jobs? Yes, you can have multiple jobs, but you can't have more than one employment authorization at a time, but they cannot be added together to be more than 20 hours. If they are, you will run into the issue later on, right, of having your OPT eligibility to be taken away. So be careful with that. Reporting changes. That means if you have anything, any personal information that has changed, please let us know as soon as possible so we can make the appropriate change on your I-20. The government is very strict about having the most updated information on our students. So we, as a DSO, we are obligated, we are required to report those changes. So whenever you have a new phone number, a new address, right, please let us know. If you have a new last name, right, you change your last name, that's another big one. Please let us know so we can update your I-20 form. As far as for filing tax, if your internship is paid, that you got money for, you will have to file for tax. That's a government requirement. So how to apply?
So now that you know the eligibility, now let's talk about how the students can apply for CPT. So remember I mentioned early, you need to be registered for a class. So does your major classes require field work or clinicals, for example? If the answer is yes, then you the steps are a little bit different than if the answer is no. So if the answer is yes, you're just gonna go apply for a job and secure a job and obtain the job offer letter. You register for the right class. For example, so our paralegal program has some classes that require students to do field work. So then you're gonna go to a law firm, ask to be employed or see if you can do your field work in there and make sure they give you that job offer letter if they say yes. That's one of the most important pieces that we will need. Once you register for the class and you secure the job and have the job offer letter, you will need to meet with the academic counselor to request a CPT recommendation. And what the counselor will do is basically make sure that your major is the right major, that you register for the class that is gonna require you to do the internship and be approved for CPT. After you get the CPT recommendation from the counselor, then you're ready to submit your request to our office. And you can submit it to your assigned advisor. And we will show you, in case you don't know, we'll let you know which advisor will be helping you with the request. When we review the paperwork and process it, we're gonna let you know that you're approved. And the way you know you're approved is because we're gonna create a new I-20 that will show that you're approved for this internship. So like Kathy has said earlier, do not start before you get the approval notice from us and that you have your I-20. And the I-20 will have the specific start and end date. So please plan ahead. Don't start working before you get the approval. And remember, the approval is per semester. So you will have to end on the last day of the semester. If you want to continue for the following semester, then we start the process all over again. But then the other side is your classes don't require field work or clinicals. like I mentioned earlier, math major or computer science. I don't think any of those majors have classes that say, hey, the student needs to do 40 hours of field work. But again, we're fortunate enough that we have the internship classes. The process is a little bit different because you have to secure the job. You have to get the job offer letter. And then in this case, because you need to register for the internship class, Dr. Kimberly Shediak is our faculty member that is in charge of the internship courses for right now. And you will be communicating with her, and she will give you the correct class, the internship class that you can enroll in, depending on the job that you secure. If it's paid or unpaid, she will tell you which one is the right class to enroll. Then you follow the same procedure as the other one. You're going to meet with the counselor after you register for your class, obtain the recommendation from the academic counselor, submit the paperwork to the education advisor so that we can process and give you the approval. The most important thing here is, of course, secure the job and get the job offer letter, but also not to begin any type of employment without the approval from the office. So planning ahead is very, very helpful. And I've been talking a lot about the job offer letter. So we want to make sure that we process your request and that you submit a complete request the first time to avoid any delays. So when you are securing your job, you may be able to tell your employer what to include on the letter so that we don't bounce it back and say, hey, the letter is missing this. Can you go back to your supervisor to get a revised letter? So if we get the right letter up front, we can avoid any delays. And you say, well, it's just a letter. What should it have? The job offer letter should have, first and foremost, your full legal name. If you want the employer to use your English name, for example, they can put it in parentheses. But we need to see the legal name because it should match your passport and it should match your I-20. We also need to know the job title or position. Our titles are educational advisor. Maybe you don't know what that means, but we just need the title. And we also need a job description. So for example, I have paralegal students who are working in a law firm right now, and they just say they're going to be hired as a law clerk, a clerk. And then they just give me a short description of what the student is doing as a clerk in the law firm and is connected to the class that they're taking, you know, the major that they're doing. We also, this is very important, we also need the company's name, address, and more important, the location where you're going to be working. So for example, we have Wells Fargo, but Wells Fargo has many branches. So we need to know specifically the branch where you're going to be performing your job. And this is because sometimes the government will be looking at the approvals for CPT and seeing where the students are working. So again, we have to make sure everything is in order. The government needs to know where you're working. We also need to know if it's going to be part-time or full-time. And the reason behind it is during the semesters, you can only do part-time during fall and spring, but during the summer, you can do full-time. But like we had said earlier and Kathy had explained, full-time CPT can have an impact on OPT. So we want to make sure that students understand the implications. We also need to know if it's paid or unpaid, especially if you're enrolling in an internship class. Dr. Shediak wants to know that information to make sure that you enroll in the proper class. We also need to know the specific dates, the start date, because that's going to be inputted in the I-20. And remember, you cannot start, you cannot submit your request today and say, I started working October 1st. That's a no. We're going to say stop working until you get the I-20 with the approval dates. So planning ahead really helps. We also need the letter to include that supervisor's name and contact information, like phone number and email. So if you look at all these points, the letter doesn't have to be very lengthy, but it should have at least these basic 8 points. And since I talk a lot about the letter, we included a sample letter. You can see it has a letterhead, has the date, has the student's name, the position that the student is being hired as, and then we have a short description, 2 to 3 sentences. Like I said, it doesn't have to be lengthy, just a short description of what you will be doing. It also has the start and end date. In this case, if you look at it, is the start date of spring semester, because the student is planning ahead, giving us all the paperwork so they can start on the first day of the semester. They want to maximize their work time, and they're going to end on May 8th. If they say, Rosa, but I want to work during the summer, then it's okay, but I'm going to need a new letter, and I'm going to need students need to register for that class again. And you can see it shows that the student is going to be working part-time, not to exceed 20 hours per week. So part-time, it will always be 20 hours or less. And then we have the supervisor's name and phone number. So you can see it's a simple letter, but it has all that information that we're going to need to create the I-20. So we will do the checklist. So now you're like, yeah, I'm interested in applying for CPT. What do I do? Well, if you really need additional information because you have been in contact with the company and you think it's the right place and it matches your major, but you're not 100% sure, you can always meet with us, Kathy, Michael, or myself, and you can explain us or show us what you have, and we will tell you, yes, this meets the requirement, this will work, go ahead and start preparing the other documents. So after you secure your internship and receive that job offer letter, that's part of your checklist. Then you're gonna register for your major class. Nursing classes are simple. You just know that you're gonna register for that class because you're in that program, and those classes require the field work. But if none of your classes require the field work, then you're gonna do the extra step of making sure that you meet the requirements to enroll in the internship class. And that's when you contact Dr. Chediak for the internship class. They're called Business 0708, which is the, I believe that's the pay one, and the B is the unpaid. So she will give you the right class. Then you're gonna schedule your appointment with the academic counselor so that the counselor can do the recommendation. Then you submit the paperwork to our office, your advisor. We will create the I-20 and we'll let you know your request has been processed, it's approved, we have your I-20. Some of you may already have a social security number, so you don't need to apply again. But if this is your first time that you are going to be working and it's a paid internship, then we will give you an additional letter so that you can apply for the social security number, because that you will need it if you're getting paid for that job. And then you will get your I-20, and the I-20 will show you the start and end date, and we will show you sample of the I-20 soon. I think it's on the next one or later.
So you might ask, why am I doing CPT? What good does it do? Well, let us tell you. From CPT, it's basically, I think of it as a hands-on training. You're doing a job that is related to your major. So you're getting experience from it, right? Hands-on training. So you're going to learn that experience. It's going to be structured because it's going to be directly related to your major. So whatever you're learning in class, you're going to apply it to the workforce and gain experience from doing so. Not just US workforce, right? In the future, when you return to your home country or when you move to a different country, whatever you learned, that experience will be with you forever. You can use it toward other things as well. You're going to build personal and professional confidence because you have already worked in this field. When you go on into the real world working force later on, you're going to feel confident, not only as a person, but also confident with your skills. You're going to gain experience in transferable skills. So this was what I was talking about relating to the experience at the workforce. Whatever skills you're using and you have learned, that will be with you forever. You can transfer that knowledge, transfer that skills to different things, different field. It may not necessarily be with your major forever, right? Whatever you learned with your major can be applied into real life experience as well. So you're applying whatever you learned in your classroom to your job, and you're going to develop that skills to help you understand even more about what you're learning, because you're doing it hands-on, right? It's not only knowledge, it's not only in your mind now, you're actually doing the work. And from that, you are going to get a specific training in your field, but that field can also open up many other fields in the future. So there are many, many good benefits and positive benefits that comes with an internship, right? Hands-on training. Any questions so far before we talk about processing time? Feel free to put it in the chat or unmute yourself if you're comfortable. Oh, thank you. All right. Okay, let's go on then. Processing time. So for processing time, early planning is very, very important and necessary. Remember, CPT is during your study, and it must be approved for each semester. If you want to work first day of the semester, then you have to get approval before that, right? So planning early is very necessary. As mentioned by Ms. Rosa earlier, the CPT dates cannot be inputted backwards. So on the government website where we issue you the I-20, we have to put a date that you are going to start working. If you already started working, we cannot put that earlier date, right? That's against the law. And that's actually a no-no on your end because you're working illegally. And that is not good, right? That will really mess up your I-20 status. So remember, you can only work after you get approved. So for us, when you submit the request, we ask 5 to 10 business days. All of us are usually pretty quick with the requests. What slows us down is when you don't have all the required materials. For example, you only got the offer letter, but you did not get the academic counselor recommendation. You meet with us, but we cannot do anything, right? Because the request is incomplete. We're going to say, hey, James, please go back to the academic counselor and get this letter approved. Then you have to make an appointment with the advisor. Then you have to wait, and then you have to come back to us again, right? That takes away from the processing time. And it might even take more than 10 days. You're going to email saying, hey, Miss Kathy, where is my request? I want to know, right? But I'm going to say, I'm so sorry, James, but I need X, Y, and Z documents first. So if you guys already come to us with all the documents prepared, we can finish it like that, right? Really quick. Now for Social Security number, if you don't have one, this planning early is even more necessary. Social Security Office or Social Security Administration, they take about 2 to 3 weeks to process your request or your application for the Social Security number in a normal scenario. Now with COVID, this 2 to 3 weeks may easily turn to 4 to 5 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks. We don't know. So it's really smart if we plan ahead, plan early, so that you allow yourself time to get the Social Security number. If it's paid internship, even if it's unpaid, sometimes the employer will ask you for the Social Security number. So if you don't have it, you cannot work. So very important. Again, CPT is authorized, authorization is required for each employer. You can have more than one, but when we do the request, when we put it on your I-20, each employer will have their own spot, right? We do it for each employer. So you will have a job letter for each employer if you have multiple jobs. And CPT is required each semester. If you want to do it, please get approval before the start of the semester, so you can allow yourself the actual full time of the semester to work. Things to remember, very important. We mentioned this many times, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing it, but you can only work during approved time listed on your Form I-20, page 2, which is the dates of the start of the semester to the end of the semester. So for this semester, the latest date that you can work is December 12th. You have to stop working after December 12th. December 13th, you want to work? That's a no-no. So remember that. And you cannot work until you get approval from us. As you can see, we made a big important in red for you guys to remember. We'll be sharing the slides with you guys also. And this PDF version of the PowerPoint will be clickable. So you'll be able to get from one point of the PDF to the other pages right away. And with the resource links also linking directly to the web page. So here is actually a sample of the Form I-20. So earlier with that student, right, the sample letter, the student is working at this beauty salon called Into Aesthetics. And this is the authorization date. It shows that it's going to be here. Whatever this date is, it must match with the job offer letter. We just put the semester date. And here, employer, that's the person who gave you the job offer letter. And the type of employment you are doing will show CPT. And the status is approved, right? If you can only work if you see this, approved. And here will show part-time or full-time. So these are basically the same. Okay, you have the start and the end date. And this is the location of the place you're working at. If you do OPT at the end of your study, post-OPT, this becomes OPT. But if it's CPT during your study, it will show CPT right here. Any questions?
And just to add what Miss Kathy is explaining on this, some students want to maximize the time that they're doing the internship. So planning ahead will allow you to start at the beginning of the semester if you submit your request and get approved. But in this case, this student just started working in October, so we can easily approve in the middle of the semester, later in the semester, but the end date will always be the last day of the semester. So the start date can vary depending on when you secure your job, when do you submit your paper or your complete paperwork, and when you get approved. But the end date will always be the last day of the semester. So like for those of you who are here right now, if you have a job secure and you're like, yeah, I want to work for the last couple months, then we can easily go ahead and get you approved if you have the proper paperwork. So you can do it this semester, or you can wait and plan ahead, submit the paperwork in December so that you start on the first day of the spring semester.
Thank you for pointing that out, Ms. Rosa. So as you can see, the student only has 2 months of approval to work, right? Whereas if you planned early, the student will have 4 months. Our semester is usually 4 months, 16 weeks. We would like to share some resources with you all. First is our International Student Center. We have the location, phone number, email, and website. Our academic counselor, you will book through PCC Connect via your Lancer point. The Freeman Career Center is where you can go to talk about, hey, what kind of job do you think I could do with my major, to get a feel of what your job paths are with your respective majors. They have websites here. This is their homepage, but on their homepage, there's also a link to their workshops. They offer many workshops during the semester, so feel free to check it out. And here is a quick link to the CPT request packet, which is on our international webpage. Now we have also resources as well. One of the good webpage to visit is called Eureka. This is where you can, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Rosa, this is also where you go to see what kind of jobs you can get for your major.
That's correct. It was chaired by one of our academic counselors. So it's very easy for students to create an account, and we're giving you that code to use. Once you create your account, you can put in what your current major is, and it will give you options of what type of jobs you can do with that major. So if you already know you and are sure for your major, then you can just explore that. If you want to explore other majors, then feel free to do so.
So we have a question in the chat from Brian. He asked, is CPT applicable during winter semester? In the past, yes, but unfortunately right now we no longer offer winter semester, and our spring semester starts really early, which is January, right? End of the semester for this semester fall is 12/12. The first day of spring is 1/10, so it's only less than a month. They don't offer winter anymore. And during that month, most of the time is Christmas break anyway. And a lot of the job sites, they are closed, unless it's, shopping center, they're open, but most of the jobs, they're closed for holiday as well. So because we don't offer winter semester anymore, students are no longer able to work during that winter semester. But you can work during fall, spring, and summer. For summer now, we have a longer semester, so you can make use of that. That answer your question, Brian? Okay.
Yes, it does.
Oh, thank you. Now, for these two websites, these are related to your status, your F1 status. If you wish to read more about CPT, you can click on this one, as well as the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We have some terms. Ms. Rosa, would you like to share them?
Sure. So we have used many terms that perhaps today is the first time that you may heard them, or you might heard them in the past, but it's kind of like confusing a little bit sometimes. So today in particular, we say a lot of times CPT. So again, CPT is Curricular Practical Training. So we typically do refer just as CPT. DSO is a term, a government term, and it means designated school official. And that just means we are authorized to issue the I-20s and approve employment in the government website. So if you look at the I-20s next to our names, it will have designated school official. So here in the office, there will be the 3 advisors, Michael, Kathy, and myself, as well as our director, Ms. Olivia Liu. USCIS, that's one of the government websites, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. This website is where they have a lot of the government forms, and also like they have explanations, and they have how to apply, and they have videos for some of the online applications. So whenever you're bored, feel free to visit some of these websites. DHS, Department of Homeland Security, again, because our school is approved to enroll international students, we work with the Department of Homeland Security, and occasionally you will hear the term. SCVP, Student and Exchange Visitor Program, that's sort of like the government agency that oversees the international program. SEVIS, Student and Exchange Visitor Information Services. This is the platform that we as DSOs use to create the I-20. We also use it to report, for example, the enrollment. Every semester, at the beginning of the semester, the schools are required to report enrollment of international students. So every semester we go in and we say, oh, Brian and James are registered for fall semester. We put in the fall registration dates so that the government knows that you are continuously enrolling at PCC. If we didn't report enrollment, then you'll probably hear from us first. Hey, where are you? What's going on? Because we have deadlines to report. So we always use CVIS, and it's related to tasks that we require to report in the student's record, in the I-20 record. SSA, Social Security Administration. So this is where any person who needs to apply for a social security number is going to go to. So in the case of international students, they will only issue the social security number if the student has a job offer letter. So it's unfortunately, but many students come and say, hey, I need a social security number to rent an apartment. Unfortunately, although we want to help you, our hands are tied. And that's why we encourage students, well, are you interested in working on campus? Perhaps try looking for on-campus job. In this case, if you consider in CPT, if you're gonna get paid, we can support by giving you the letter that you need to apply for the social security number. There are no other cases that I'm aware of that international students can get a social security number. But the good thing about it is once you secure a job and you apply and get your social security number, that's gonna be your number for forever, for life. So for those of you who are here today, if you transfer to the university and you do OPT when you're at the university or you work on campus, the processes may be simpler because you're skipping one step. You're not going to need to apply for a social security number because you already have one. So you just apply for the job and get approved. Social security number, again, I was just saying, That's the number that is given to students or people who apply for the number by the Social Security Administration. And that number is your number for life. If you are successful or changing status, or you have the opportunity to apply for a green card, you already have your Social Security number. You're not going to need to apply for a new one. So it's always good to keep that card. They're going to mail you a card. Some of you may have seen it. It's a blue card. It has your Social Security number, which is 9 digits, and the name. So that's the number for you for life. And then all of you have the form I-20. So sometimes we get students who are a little confused and they say my I-20 and my F-1 visa. So remember, the F-1 visa is the document that has your picture and it has your information and it's inside your passport. The form I-20 is the 3-page document. It also has your information. It has the school information. It has your major and your program start and end dates and additional information. So the I-20s that you get as an international student, those are a legal document. So never lose an I-20. Always secure them in a safe place. If you lose your I-20, make sure you reach out to us so we can reprint it. If you ever lose your passport or your immigration documents, we strongly recommend that you do a police report because you don't want someone else using your documents. So your immigration documents should always be in a secure place and always have them with you, don't lose them. But if, things happen, if that happens, just make sure you do a police report and reach out to us so we can tell you how to replace those documents. And now, so our office is currently seeing students by last name. Each student is assigned by their last name to an advisor. In my case, I have students with last name A through J. And that doesn't mean, like, for example, James, that if you have a question and Miss Kathy is not here, you have to wait until she's here. Any of us can help any student, but your assigned advisor is based on your last name. But like when I go on vacation, Miss Kathy may be helping Brian if he has a request while I'm out of the office. So we all help each other, but your first point of contact will be your advisor. We have Mr. Michael Jones. He sees students with the last name K through S. We have his phone number and email, and we also have the link to schedule appointments. We're seeing as students virtually. If you prefer a phone appointment, you can provide us your phone number. We also, if you really want to come and see us in person, let us know and we will accommodate an in-person appointment. And then Miss Kathy, she's assigned students with the last name T through Z. Her phone number is listed there as well as her email and the link to schedule appointments. So we're always here available for you. If you're already coming to campus, you can stop by and say hello, or you're welcome to schedule an appointment.
We have snacks in the office. So feel free to stop by and grab a snack and say hi. You don't have to come to us just for requests, right? You can come and say hello, just wave, I'm just passing by into my class when I say hello, and we welcome you always. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for joining us, spending this 1 hour with us, listening to us, and you allowing us to share with you the details of CPT. If you have any last questions, feel free to ask in the chat or unmute yourself. We are also available through email or appointments or even phone calls. No, James, unfortunately, you cannot apply for a Social Security number without a job, because the Social Security Administration, they will ask you for the job offer letter when you go apply. If you don't have it, they will not process your request. Yes, unfortunately, but that's just how the government operates. We wish we can help all of you, give you guys a job so you can go apply, but we are also limited to X number of students that we can hire due to budget mainly. And that's the same with other offices as well. So when you guys look for a job, it's good that you ask around first, right? And then not only on campus, if you are able to find on-campus job that's not related to your major, then you can just do normal on-campus employment. That's a quicker process too, or the easiest. If you wish to go outside of the campus and seek something that's related to your major, then you will need to come to us for the CPT request or the approval. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to look, right? Even if you are not going to do CPT, if you're interested about learning more about the workforce, feel free to ask around and see what they have to offer. It doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, I encourage all of you to visit the Freeman Career Center, because they have different workshops and they have sometimes outside speakers that come in and talk to students for specific fields, or you see and learn, okay, if the company is hiring, maybe that's related to your major, then you can reach out to us and say, hey, I saw a presentation from this company, from the Freeman Career Center. Do you think I'm eligible to apply through CPT? And we can definitely help you say yeah or no, or try to look for this somewhere else, or like Miss Kathy saying, on-campus employment, many students think is not possible. Maybe it's not easy, but it's possible. We have many international students who are working on campus, especially as tutors. So always visit all the success centers, and it doesn't hurt to ask. Maybe they tell you no this time, but if you leave your resume and you follow up maybe at the end of the semester, because students leave, students graduate and they leave. So the positions have to be replaced. So don't give up. I guess that's my takeaway point. Don't give up, because one office said no, you're going to be discouraged and like, oh, they're not hiring. Go to the other office or come back to the same office at the end of the semester or at the beginning of the semester and try again. It doesn't hurt.
Thank you, Rosa. That's a good pointer. Our next workshop is going to be on OPT, optional practical training. We do mostly post OPT. That means you have earned your associate degree and is now ready to get some hands-on employment trainings or experience. In that case, you will apply for OPT if you're interested. Our workshop will be next Tuesday, October 19th, from 12 to 1, same time. If you are interested in learning more, please join us. If you guys don't have any more questions, this is the end of our presentation. Again, feel free to reach out to us if you think of more questions at a later time.
And thank you for being here. I know it's lunchtime, so you can go have lunch, and look out for the email maybe by the end of, well, it's already Thursday, maybe early next week. The office will send you an email with the recording and the slides like Kathy was saying earlier. So you can have it as a reference in case you need a refresher. You can review the presentation and feel free to reach out if you still need to clarify some details of what we presented today. But thank you for being here. And we look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.
Thank you all. You too. Have a good day. Stay
you.
safe.
Good afternoon.